As I begin working on the general form of this ship, there are a few things that I want to take into account. Now, in this case, I don't have a concept artist to give me any concept drawings or anything like that, but what I do have are a few boundaries for previous models, things that I've set up that I know need to fit inside of this ship. So I've got a few different things here just to help me get the general sense of scale before I rough out the few concepts that I want to try for the general shape of the ship. So one, we have just a character. So this is just kind of an average height character, and just in a regular T-pose, so you can get an idea of general space that the character would take up. Now, the next thing that I have is I have an area that is going to be kind of a drop zone of this ship. This is going to be something of a drop ship that's going to be able to leave troops in an area. And so I've got a real simple setup of a dozen troops that would be able to drop down, hooked to little chairs or something like that. So, generally this is here just to give us the overall size that we need. And inside this same folder, I also have a box that gives us kind of the general size that we would need to be able to fit this into our ship. Okay, and then in addition to that, I also have a cockpit area, and this one is a little bit more specific, as I had a concept that I had previously started up that I wanted to be able to fit with a pilot and a co-pilot on these kind of swiveling chairs that would allow them to be extended out into a bit of a more kind of glass domed good visibility area, so that these two will be able to get a really good view of the area as they're piloting. So I need to be able to fit those in, and again I have a bounding box that will just give me the general size here, and these I can take and drop these bounding boxes into my concept as I get started, and they just give me some kind of rough guidelines as to how I'm going to fit things. So with that, what I'm going to do is create a new scene entirely, and I'm going to drop in my my bounding box items just so that I have a sense of scale. Then I'm going to start kind of basically roughing out a general form for this ship, and we're going to look at a couple of different methods for creating just the first initial rough concept. This is going to be kind of the 3D equivalent of creating just real simple thumbnail sketches. This will allow us to explore more options before we move forward and start polishing any individual one of them. So let's go ahead and make a new scene here, and then I'm going to grab my bounding boxes for both of these, and drag and drop those in. Make sure that they're visible. And I know that I kind of want the cockpit to be forward and up a bit, so I'm going to put it kind of over there, and that I would like the drop bay to be kind of aft. I'm going to have the other thing that I have here is a kind of a main idea for this is how the engine setup is. So I want to have kind of a big main engine in the back, and then I want to have a couple of like drive pods that will be able to pivot and rotate a bit on either side, and those would give more maneuverability to something that would be an otherwise kind of bulky, heavy ship. This is something that I'm intending to be pretty heavily armored, and I don't want it to feel as if it couldn't get into battle, land, drop off its troops, and then exit. So we want to make sure that that we have some extra maneuverability, and those pods are going to give me that. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a general kind of box here, and I'm just going to take and fill out the space that I need in order to fit these components in, and give myself a little bit of extra, because I know I'm going to be kind of tapering and adjusting this. This is going to be kind of the block that I'm going to chisel away from, and let's add a few extra spans here by just right clicking and dragging. Give me a little bit of extra stuff to work with initially there, and I think something. See, I also kind of want the cockpit to be a little. I want it to be lifted up off the ground, but I want the rest of the ship to have some higher area up above it, so it's a little bit more centralized. So I'm going to move the bounding box up a bit, and then I'm going to make sure that I'm zeroed out on the X, so it's centered up, and something like that is going to be a good start. All right, so this we'll call the fuselage. And then we'll make a new mesh item that we'll call the pods. These are going to be our drive pods. For this, I'm going to turn on symmetry, and again, just go ahead and get my my bounding box, or my box tool here, and create a cube that will kind of give me just the general idea for the size and position kind of these. All right, so that will do it for that. And I'm going to go ahead and save this, and let's create a new folder here. So I've got, I'm just going to start placing all of my items in here. And it's important as you continue on a process like this where if you're looking at doing concept to completion, it's good to save in iterations. So I'm going to call this concept 01. And, I'm going to be even more specific than this. I'm going to call this rough concept. You can call it block out concept, whatever you want. But I'm going to iterate through a few different versions here, and we're going to look at a few different ways that we can work through these iterations as well, so that you can find the way that's most comfortable for you to work. So I'm going to save several different versions of this as well. So let's go ahead and click save. And with that, we're actually ready to start taking these simple blocks and starting to chisel them into the shape that we want in order to get a good finished concept.